Hi there, I'm Cathi Barker from Software Solutions, and you're looking at one of a collection of videos about the essentials in Microsoft Excel. This particular video, I want to address the topic of sheets and what you can do with sheets. Now, first of all, I'm going to ask you to create a new workbook, not to be confused with a worksheet. Now, a workbook is the same as a file or a document. Those sort of terms get used often. So to create a new document or a new workbook or a new file, I'm going to use the button that we added to our quick access toolbar, this new button here, or I could press Control N. Or if you don't have the button and you don't want to use the shortcut key, you go the old-fashioned way and just go File, New, and choose Blank Workbook. But I'm going for my button. Now I want to save the file straight away. I think that's best practice. Once you create a file, save it straight away and then you can get busy doing what you need to get doing. So I'm going to press the button Save As that we added to our quick access toolbar, or I could press the function key F12 as you see in the tooltip here. But if I go Save As, I immediately want to save this file as documents. No, desktop. I'm going to save it to the desktop, that's the location. I'm going to give it the file name schedule. And I'm going to save it as an Excel workbook. So I'll just click the Save button. All right, now let's wait a moment, and there's schedule at the top in my title bar, and it says that the file is saved. Now I'm going to hold the Control key and just move my mouse wheel forward just to zoom in a little bit. You could, of course, use the plus and the minuses in the bottom right corner of what we call your status bar, but the control wheel is actually a good way to zoom in. Now in the cell A1, I actually want to type the word schedule. And in the cell A3, I want to type site and what the project was and who the manager is. Okay. In the cell A7, I will type name. And in B7, I'll type week space 1. So that's what I want you to type. Now, first of all, let's start with schedule. I'm going to click on schedule and I'd like to make that bigger. So up here in our ribbon, particularly the home tab in our ribbon, if I rest on this button is font size. So that's the size of your text. I could set it to a specific size like 20, and that visually, as you can see, makes it larger. Or I could use these two buttons to visually grow the font size and shrink the font size. And I can see the number changing as I do so. So I'm going to take it to 22. Now, as a consequence, schedule doesn't fit snugly into A1. So I'm going to put my mouse on the line that resides between column letters A and B, and I'm going to double click that line so it adjusts the column width. All right, that's schedule done. Oh, let's add a bit of color. Over here is a button with an A and a little bit of red under it called font color. Hit the drop down to see your color palette, and I'm going to choose a blue of some description. So I'll choose this option here. Now these three cells here, I'm going to drag from A3 down to A4, A5. So you start with the first cell, you hold your button down, your mouse is a big white cross, and you drag down, and that's how you select those three cells. And as I mentioned in an earlier video, don't worry that the first one doesn't go dark. The first cell always stays white or clearer than the others, because that's what Excel understands as the active cell. And it's a little bit of a GPS point, which will make sense if you get through to my level 6 course, which is coding in Excel. All right, so those three cells are chosen, and what I want to do is align those cells to the right. They're currently aligned to the left. So over here on the home tab in the ribbon are three buttons, left as they are at the moment, center and right, or I could return them to the left. But I'm going to send them to the right. So they're right aligned. I'm also going to up the font size, and I'm going to up it to 14. I'm also going to change the color, and I might go for a purple. Okay, now the word name is fine. Week 1, when I click on week 1, I now want to change my mouse from a big white cross, which appears when I put my mouse in the center of that cell, to a thin black cross, which appears when I put it in the bottom right corner of the cell. The thin black cross is called fill series. So I drag the thin black cross to the right until I get to F. And that gives me week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5. So that's what we call autofill, and we're going to look at that in video 7. Autofill saves you a lot of typing, and so I need 5 weeks because some months have 4 weeks and some weeks have 5. Some months have 5. All right, that's done. Now I'd like to drag big white cross from A7 across to F and down to 15. So I'm wanting to choose this block of cells here, and I want to put some borders on. So this button here in front of the bucket with a little bit of yellow is your borders button. If you hit the drop down, there are a variety of border styles, and I'm after all borders. And so I'm going to click that option there. And so now I have all the borders applied to those cells. Now what I'd like to do is select this range of cells, drag from here across to here. And the bucket with a little bit of yellow, if I hit the drop down, I get a color palette, and I might go just for a light blue. All right. I would now like to select 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cells to the right of sight, and I want to merge those cells. Instead of being 5 separate cells, I want to merge those into one big cell. So that's this button here, merge and center. If I click that, those 5 cells are now one large cell. And I want to put a bottom border, so I go to my borders button and I choose bottom. And I want to put a bottom border only on that cell. And you can see it's one big cell now where they can write in the top, the site, and it's got a line underneath it. Do the same to project. Select these 5 cells, merge and center into one big cell, and put a bottom border on. Click away just to double check, and then proceed to do the same for manager. Select these 5 cells, merge and center, and put a bottom border on. It actually remembers your last choice, so I just click straight on it. So that's those cells done. Now these cells also need a little bit of color. So 1, 2, 3, heading to my bucket, remembers my light blue that I chose earlier, so I just click on that and it's done. Last thing I really need to do is I need to turn the grid lines off. Now, we're going to go away from the Home tab in the ribbon, and we're going to go to the View tab in the ribbon. Here is a grid lines option, and if I untick it, you basically turn your grid lines off, and what you're left with are borders, which are much more crisp and clearer. I actually quite like that button, so I might use that quite a bit. If you like a button and it's not on the Home tab, it's quite handy to right-click a button and add it to your quick access toolbar. Now it's on my quick access toolbar, I can go back to Home, and if I ever need to turn the grid lines on, I just tick it, and if I need to turn the grid lines off, I just untick it. It's super handy, and that'll stay there because any changes that you make to your quick access toolbar are permanent, unless of course you right-click that button and you choose to remove it from the quick access toolbar. So you can do that as well. So this is my spreadsheet, and I need to save. So I'm going to hit my save button or Control S and save. And now at the top of my title bar, it says that the spreadsheet's saved. So the idea is I take this to the team and I say to them, is this going to work? Are we able to say what the site is, who the manager is, what the project is, what employees were working on it, and how many hours they did each week on that particular site in that particular project? They come back and say, fantastic, they love it. So I'm like, cool, all right, so we have a schedule. Now this is just for a certain month, so I need to clarify that. If I double click sheet 1, I can name this sheet Jan, short for January, and press enter. At any point in time you can double click a sheet and just type what you want to call it. You must press enter because if you don't, notice how half of the buttons or even a good 80% of the buttons are grey, which means that you're busy doing something else, and until you press enter, they won't light up. So when I press enter, they all light up. So if you ever have a whole lot of grey buttons in your ribbon, it means that it thinks you're still typing and you need to press enter or click somewhere or hit an arrow key to move away. So that's our sheet for January, but then I think, oh my gosh, I need one for February, March, April, May. I need another 11 sheets. I don't want to do that from scratch again. I'm far too busy. And I really don't want to copy and paste it either because it doesn't go across nicely, like the column widths don't go across nicely and things like that. I really would like to be able to just duplicate that sheet called January and call it February. Well, you can do that. The quickest way to duplicate a sheet is to literally drag the sheet to the right, but you must hold the control key. By holding the control key down, so I've got it pressed down, and then dragging that sheet to the right, notice the mouse pointer is a plus, and I let the mouse go, and then I let the control key go. And I've made Jan 2. I've made a duplicate of Jan called Jan 2, because you can't have two sheets with the same name. So now I double click that and I'll call that Feb. But I need one for March, so I hold control, I drag the sheet name to the right, I let the mouse go, I let control go. Now I need to call it Mar for March, double click, Mar. Do it again. Repetition is the mother of skill. Hold the control key, drag it to the right, double click, April. Hold the control key, drag it to the right, double click it, May. Might actually make a few duplicates. So I've got 5 so far. I need another 7. So control 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Hold the control key and just continue to drag. Make as many duplicates as you need, and now I'll go and name them. Double click this one, June. Double click this one, July. Double click this one, August. September. October. November. December. If I'd accidentally dragged one too many times, let's do that, control drag, and make a second copy of December. If you ever need to delete a sheet because it's old or it's unnecessary or it was just a mistake, right click that sheet and delete that sheet. Now be aware that you can't undo deleting a sheet, so be sure that you want to delete that sheet. Maybe save the file before you delete it, and that way if you really do need it back you can quickly close the file without saving. So I'm going to delete that sheet. Microsoft will Excel will permanently delete the sheet. Do you want to continue? Delete. And you can't undo getting that sheet back. It's just not an option. You can undo the zoom, but not deleting the sheet. So we've got 12 sheets. So that's how you name a sheet and how you duplicate a sheet. Now let's look at rearranging these sheets. Let's say that this particular company, their financial year begins in April. So April really should be the first sheet. I'm going to drag January and literally drop it on the other side of December. And because I haven't got the control key held down, it will move it. So when you drag a sheet without the control key, you simply move that sheet. So I've just moved those 3 sheets, January, February, March, and put them to the right of December. That's how you move a sheet. Okay, now let's look at these sheets. I look at these 12 sheets and I think, oh, actually I should save. So I'm going to press Control S or I hit the save button and I just check on my title bar it's saved. Okay, because I don't want to lose anything. We've done a lot of work. We've got 12 sheets. They're in financial year order. And then I look and go, oh gosh, I should have added a total row at row 16. I don't want to have to do that 12 times for each sheet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select all the sheets. And then if I select all the sheets and do something to one sheet, it does it to all of them. So I'm going to right click any one of these sheets. I'll go for April and I'll select all the sheets. Notice they're all white and they've got a line, green line under them. Notice also the word group appears up here in the title bar. So whenever group appears in the title bar, it means you've got more than one sheet selected. And so whatever you do is going to happen to all of those sheets, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. So now I'm going to go to A16 and type the word total. And I'm going to select this group of cells. And I'm going to put some borders on, all borders, and a little bit of blue on the bottom. And I might even make it bold, the B. So now, if I click back on A16, April has got a total row. But if I go and look at May, so's May, so's June, so's July, so's August. So if you need to make a change to all of the sheets, right click, select all the sheets. Let's say I go into File and into Print. Let's say I want them all to print in landscape. So I change portrait orientation to landscape orientation. And notice 1 of 12. All 12 sheets now will print in landscape on a separate page. So I can back out of print preview, but that's a change I've made to all the sheets. And if I want to unselect all the sheets, I could right click and ungroup sheets, but it's just as easy to click on, say, March, and that undoes it as well, and the word group disappears. So when you want to make a change common to all sheets, select all sheets. But what if I want to make a change common just to a select few? Let's say I want to color code these sheets into financial year quarters, into groups of 3. I'm going to click on April, hold the control key, click on May and June. And I'm going to then let the control key go. So I held, let me do that again. I'll click on March. Click on April, hold the control key, click on May and click on June. Now let the control key go. So I didn't drag, I clicked. Control drag duplicates a sheet. Control click selects more than one sheet. Fine details. Now I'm going to right click one of these 3 and I'm going to go into tab color and I'd like to color them, say, purple. Now they don't look very purpley, they look quite pastel, but when I click on July, they're purpley. So whatever sheet you're in, let me click on June, is always a pastel version of that color, otherwise you visually wouldn't know which sheet you were sitting in. So now I'll go to July, hold the control key and click on August and September, repetition. Right click, tab color, and this time I'm going to go for a blue. Doesn't look very blue until I click on October. Hold the control key, November, December, let the control key go, right click, tab color, and now I'll go for a yellow. Click on Jan, hold the control key, click on Feb, click on March. Now right click, go to tab color, and maybe I'll choose black, which when I click on April, makes the writing go white. So when you want to select a group of sheets, hold the control key, start with the first sheet, click on the first sheet, hold the control key and click on the second, the third, the fourth. Then let the control key go and proceed to do whatever it is that you want to do to that group of sheets. Okay, and I need to save as well. So we've looked at deleting sheets, naming sheets, duplicating sheets, moving sheets, color coding sheets, and we've saved this file. Now what I want to look at, let me just pause for a minute. I want to look at something else you can do with sheets, but I don't want to use this file. We've saved this file. I now want to open a file that I sent you with the course notes. So I'm going to use my open button here, and I'm going to open a file called Excel 1. Which I would have sent you, and there I might actually, yeah, Excel 1 there and open. Okay. In this Excel 1 file, which goes with the level 1 course, are a number of sheets: clients, sorting a list, customers, etc. Let's start with customers. This list of customers, say I have intentions of updating it. Some of the customers have left, so I want to delete them. Some of them have changed their phone number, so I want to update them. I really want to revamp this list, but I need to keep a copy of the original customers list in case I make a mistake. So we need to duplicate this customers sheet. Hold the control key, drag customers to the right, just drop it on formulas. Let the mouse go, let your control key go, you've got customers 2. Double click the name customers 2, hit the right arrow to go to the right of the name, and then just backspace the last 3 characters off. And in their place, put backup. Oops, not like that. Nicely. So this is my customers backup. Enter. So now I need to hide it because they're too similar. People will go and accidentally, potentially update the wrong one. So I'm going to right click customers backup and I'm going to hide this sheet. Only I know it's there. Need to do the same with products. When I click on products, I have intentions of deleting some of these products that are now discontinued. I have intentions of updating the prices of some of these products. So I need to keep a copy of the original products list. Hold the control key, drag products to the right, double click its name, hit the right arrow, backspace off the last 3 characters, and type backup. Press enter so it knows you're finished and all the buttons light up. Right click and hide that sheet so only you know it's there. We've made a backup of customers, we've made a backup of products, so now we can confidently rip through those lists, and if we need to go back to the original and refer to the original, all we have to do is right click any sheet and choose the option unhide. When you choose unhide, you can drag down and select both of them or just choose one of them. But if I drag down and select both of them and go OK, it'll unhide both of them. I can turn around and hide that again, turn around and hide that again. So you can hide and unhide sheets. Some things you notice I use with the right click method, and that's because it's the fastest way to do some things. I think when it comes to inserting a sheet, the fastest way is just to hit this button. I think when it comes to renaming a sheet, the fastest way is to double click. When it comes to moving, the fastest way is just to drag it. When it comes to duplicating, the fastest way is to control drag it. But some things, when you right click, such as delete, are done with a right click. You can also insert and rename and move and copy this way. Code will worry about that level 3, level 6. Protecting a sheet, we look at in level 2. Tab color we looked at. Hiding and unhiding we looked at. Selecting all the sheets we also looked at. And you can also show changes, and we'll look at that in level 2. So that is my video and chapter on the sorts of things you can do with sheets. I'm still waiting for some improvements from Microsoft. I'd really like an option in here that says sort the sheets alphabetically or sort the sheets chronologically or numerically. So there's still room for improvement. But it's pretty good what you can do with sheets. And remember, you can have an unlimited number of sheets. So you don't have to juggle a lot of files. I find that some people use sheet 1 and then they go and create a new file, and I'm like, why don't you put all the sheets in one file, and that way you don't have to juggle all these different files. Just keep it all in one file because you can have an unlimited number of sheets. All right, see you on the next video. I hope you enjoyed that. See you soon.